Morning everyone. This is the first episode I've ever done of this, so I could be pretty crap at it, so don't hold your horses. I want to talk about EVs and EV cars today and the climate, because a lot of people seem to be concerned about it. A lot of the fake news stories seem to be coming out at the moment about how they're selling millions of these damn things and it's the biggest thing in sliced bread. Well, let's take it step by step. First off, the environment. Climate crisis. What climate crisis? The atmosphere, believe it or not, only contains 0.04% carbon dioxide. That's it, 0.04%. So when they talk about this being a massive problem, it's 0.04%. And nature has done a pretty good job over millions of years looking after that percentage. Man doesn't have that much effect on it. In fact, man's percentage of that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is less than 1%. So there is no climate crisis. There simply isn't. We've got enough oil to last for hundreds of years. They call it fossil fuels, but that's actually a misnomer. It never was a fossil fuel. Fossils, we've only ever dug it to a maximum of 16,000 feet, from my understanding, for fossils. Oil is typically drained from the earth at 28,000 feet. So it can't be fossils. Straightforward. The name fossil fuels was actually developed in the early 1900s when the rich families that own the oil fields decided they weren't making enough money and figured that if they got some scientists to pop into the Geneva Convention one year, tell everyone it's a fossil fuel, and it actually has an expiry date. It's not a limitless flow. The value of that commodity went up, and sure it did. And oil is now a massive business. Trouble is, it ain't running out. Not anytime soon. We got plenty of oil, and oil is part of everyday life for all of us. So it's very difficult to kind of pull ourselves away from oil if this truth be known. Think back, everyone, to diesel cars. What the government tell us? Oh, it's cheap. And it was. It was a third the price of petrol. You get a diesel car, you can run everything so cheaply. Everybody moved to diesel cars. What happened? Oh yeah, they put the price of diesel up. Actually, put it up to higher than petrol, which is great for all those people with diesels all of a sudden getting conned. And they've just done that to the EVs in a small way, because they've now gone from zero tax to paying $5,000 a year on some of those EV cars. So they're just going to tuck you up exactly the same. The price of electric in this country, we're probably at the highest electricity prices in the world, and yet they want you to go to EVs. And it's all right for those people home charging, as I understand it, it's reasonably cheap. But if you actually are out and about, or if you haven't got access to home charging, the charging on the street, where there is a working unit apparently, then that's extortionate. And even some of the nice big engine stuff that I've driven will go as many miles as an EV on a charge for the same money. And there was a study recently where an EV costs more to go from London to Cornwall than a petrol or diesel car would have cost. And of course it took about 3 times as long because I had to charge it 2 or 3 times along the way. That's the other thing. You might save a couple of quid on petrol, on electricity if you're lucky. You'll spend it on the coffees whilst you're waiting for an hour and a half for these things to charge. If you're lucky enough to find a working charger, according to friends of mine. Just look at Porsche. Porsche won't take back their own EV vehicles. They're prestige vehicles. If I gave you a Porsche, you'd be chuffed to bits. If I had a Porsche, you'd be chuffed to bits. But Porsche won't have their own electric vehicles back unless you're buying another electric vehicle from them. That's the only time they will. That's because I know of a very famous Porsche Taycan out there. There's a really nice one, cost over 100 grand. 3 years old, it's worth 30. And Porsche have just sent them a letter, and this is the other thing. Porsche sent them a letter saying that they're worried about the charging the car, that it might catch fire. And it has to have a recall, and a very serious recall, to set the batteries up. And they shouldn't charge it over 80%, not ever let it get below 20%. So all of a sudden your range is 60% of what you really could do anyway, because you can't let it go below a certain limit and you can't charge it above a certain limit. So you've only got 60% of the published range, if the published range were true, which is not. It's always lower. And especially if it's cold. It goes down by a third when it's cold. And that's if you don't use the electric and the heaters and the radio and all the rest of it. But the letter basically states that if it could catch on fire, and of course the insurance companies have cottoned on, and now you're going to find that if the insurance companies realise that you've got a Porsche Taycan in your driveway charging up, you have to park it away from your house, because if it catches fire to your house, you will not be covered, because you knowingly are plugging in something that may catch fire. This is going to happen more and more. Imagine the Chinese batteries ones, you know, the ones that go through their quality or no quality control, as we should say. I mean, those, it's like basically parking a bomb in your garage and waiting for it to explode. So, I'm sorry, EVs aren't the answer. Look at the prices. Look in Auto Trader. Look at what Barry Crampton has found out in Auto Trader. You've got brand new EVs, 5-10 miles on the clock, pre-registered, because obviously they had to hit this ridiculous ZEV mandate. Pre-registered, 50 grand car, but you can have it for 20 if you want it. You have it now for 20. That's a brand new car. But they can't sell it for the price. They've got to sell it for 20 grand, 25 grand, half price. Some of the vans they sell, he was showing this morning, it's 70% off, brand new. The reason? Well, most vans that are electric don't go more than about 60 miles. Not many tradesmen could cope with something that goes 60 miles between charges. The average chap trying to work hard and earn a living probably have to charge it twice just to get out to work, go down and do his jobs and come home again. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So when the government's trying to force you to go to EVs, just remember that. Remember, there's always a reason for these things happening. They aren't thinking with you in mind, they're thinking with themselves in mind. There's no ulterior motive. There is a payoff somewhere along the line. The government are going to have a payoff, whatever happens. You're not going to necessarily benefit. You may feel it. I mean, EVs, I think, if you've got to potter around locally and plug in at home and charge it up, it's probably a cheapish solution for you. But for your average person, wanting to do any mileage, want to travel anywhere, want to go any distance, sorry, they're not going to be for you. They're not going to work out. And you certainly wouldn't want to plough your own money into it. The government today have now announced that they're looking into, with the loan companies, they're looking at providing low cost or even interest-free loans on EVs. But that just kicks the can down the road, because these companies, they're not, what's the point to them? They're going to charge less interest, which is supposedly bring down the payments. But the problem is, the depreciation is so bad that they're experiencing on these EV cars. That's going to still make the monthly payments more expensive than they should be for the same amount of money. ICE cars, internal combustion cars, they still command a value because they can go on for 20, 30 years. If you look after them, keep them serviced, they'll last. You can replace parts. You even do it yourself if you're skilled. Not that I can, but someone else can. But your EVs, when those batteries go, whether that be after 3 years or 20 years, doesn't matter. It's still going to be a £15,000, £20,000 bill, which means that car is going to be worthless. When the batteries go, it's gone, it's finished, throw it away. And you don't know how long those batteries last. Who hasn't had a mobile phone, a fantastic mobile phone? After 6 months, the battery lasts half as long as it used to, just because you've used it a bit too much. And a couple of years down the line, does it even switch on? And that can happen with EVs just the same as it can with anything else. There's no battery technology yet that's going to work for these things. Nothing at all. So think carefully before you go to EV. And just remember, once it's all electric, the price of electricity is going to go through the roof. It's bound to. It's already through the roof now. And this is before. You know, they're anti-incentivizing. They're incentives. It's ridiculous. But I mean, just imagine what it's going to be like when that's the only solution you've got. And just remember, if you take smart meters into account, I mean, I'm not ever going to fit one in my house, but if you fit one, they can then decide when you can or cannot charge your EV, as simple as that. The grid can't cope with what's on the grid now. They nearly had a blackout a couple of weeks ago when it was very cold, and they were talking about switching off sectors of the country. Well, what do you think that means? It means that some people are going to go in electric, and if you have an EV to charge, they're not going to just say to you, "Oh, that's all right, plug your car in for 7 hours. That's all right. Someone else will go without heating." They're not. They're going to say to you, "You can charge your car on certain days at certain times for a certain amount of time," and that's going to limit how far you can drive your car, whether you can get to work and back or not. Simple as that. That's all smart meters are going to do. They're going to monitor what you do and be able to actually control what you do and whether or not you can do it. So, yeah, what a great first episode. Hopefully, you'll want to hear more from me. I'm a bit of a miserable sod. I'll get better. I've got some good jokes to tell you. But for now, that's the first one. Thanks very much for watching.